So, welcome to my podcast, Conversations with David. I'm your host, David Owasi. And on this podcast, we're talking to professionals and entrepreneurs across the country, and in this case, across the continent. And we're talking about what keeps them passionate, what keeps them going. And we're also talking about some of the lessons learned along the way. Now, I'm here with someone I have huge respect for, someone who is very accomplished, Eliot. Why don't you introduce yourself, Eliot?
What's up, man? First of all, thanks for having me on. And I think I'm an entrepreneur. I'm trying to be an entrepreneur. I don't call starting a business being an entrepreneur, right? That you're just a businessman at that point. So, I'm giving my hand at this entrepreneurial life. Other than that, I am a former UFC fighter. I own 7 martial arts schools out here in Colorado. Called Easton Training Centers with my business partner, Easton. And TEDx speaker, Amazon author, best-selling author. A lot, I guess a bunch, but not much. All the same.
Hey, I love the humility, and the humility even makes me have that more respect for you, because lots of people in your position wouldn't consider themselves just a businessman. So big shout out to your humility there.
I don't know what I am, bro. I'm a whole mess of a whole lot of things that gets all mixed up, and my wife yells at me for sometimes.
But Eliot, let's start out with your entrepreneurship story. My whole thing, I love entrepreneurship. I started my first business when I was 19 years old at university, and that's kind of what brought me to where I am today. But I know you probably started your own business post your UFC career. What got you started into starting your own training school? How did that even come about?
So they were already started. They were small jiu-jitsu schools that he was my teacher, Easton, owned. Okay. And he was my coach and my teacher for, 1999 to 2011. At this point, he's still my coach and teacher, obviously. Well, not my coach anymore, so I don't compete, but teacher. So he and I have been together for 22 years now. And after I retired, I always wanted to do the school thing. And we just made this decision to try to expand, right? Like to take them from big, little mom and pop in a strip mall type places. And now we have two 10,000s and 10,000 square feet anyway. And then a 7,000 square feet. And then, some other smaller ones mixed in between there. So, it was a super easy transition because ever since I was a kid, when I started martial arts, I said I was going to own a karate school because I started with karate when I was 6. So, I don't know, man, I hate real jobs. I don't like bosses. What else is there? What else you want to, I don't want someone to tell me when to go to work. I hate all of that. You can't get ahead working for somebody else. It's just, and look, it's not for everyone. It's not for most people. Right. So that's cool. But, and what I mean by ahead, it's not, it's hard to get financially ahead. 1, and 2, it's hard to have freedom, man. It's really hard to have freedom because somebody can always come and tell you that you got to go to work today. And I don't know about what the language barrier or the language setting is on this podcast, but fuck that.
It's all good, brother. It's very interesting because you mentioned a few of those things, why entrepreneurship is important, having that control, having that freedom. So after I started my own first business, I went back into corporate, did some sales consultant roles, and it was all nice, great gig, really enjoyed it. And then COVID hit, and then I lost my job. So I really feel and understand everything you just mentioned there. It made me feel helpless when all of a sudden, I thought I was valued at this job, and they just say, hey, sorry, from a phone call, you're done. And for me, I went back into running my own consulting firm now, but that was just the whole thing of why entrepreneurship is important.
Yeah, for me, even for COVID, as far as COVID went, COVID made me rethink, right? Because I had these schools that were, I can remember sitting down with one of my vice presidents, because we have 7 schools, 150 students, 150 employees, thousands of students across the schools. And we're just watching the numbers just and you're like, fuck yeah, we're killing, and like, you're thinking like, I think we would even survive like a recession, like we'd be fine in a recession. Like what am I literally, my vice president looked at me and goes, I don't know what could stop us. And literally that was the middle of February, And then March 13th came.
Mm.
And all of a sudden for me, we had to close, right? We just had to close completely. And I was like, yo, I kind of like to look at things in the perspective of, are you fragile? Are you robust? Or are you anti-fragile?
Mm.
And I was only robust. I was really robust, this business, right? This Easton business. I'm not saying I'm a billionaire, right? But like the business was going to be hard to take down.
Right.
But something could do it. So that doesn't make me anti-fragile.
Right.
Right. And I want to be anti-fragile.
You know, there's a whole book about that, so anti-fragility. Yeah. I think I've read that before, and that's a whole different level from robust and being fine, like you said, to like completely immune against anything coming. But do you have a point to make on that before?
Yeah, each part, the thing with anti-fragile, it's not that each part is immune, it's that you're immune, right? Like, so sure, COVID comes and it could hurt you here, but it could help you here, right? So that's the idea of anti-fragile. It's not that like sure, maybe the next global pandemic comes and it, and yeah, it's going to hurt Easton, but which is my jiu-jitsu schools.
Right.
But I'm building now to make sure that whatever else it is that I have, it won't touch.
Amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. And Eliot, let's just kind of backtrack a little bit to your business still. What was the process like growing from one school? Like you said, when you started, it was a very small outfit. What was that process like growing from that to, over 7 locations? What was that like?
I don't remember. Because when I bought in, I had 1, but he had 2 more, my business partner. And then I ended up buying into all those 2. And then we opened 4 more. What was it like?
The scaling process. And for someone like myself, for example, I have a pretty small boutique consulting firm now, and I'm trying to scale it to something 7-figure, 8-figure potentially. Right. I'm just trying to think, what kind of mindset do you have to get into to be able to scale a business to that level?
You can't be scared, first of all, right? You can't be scared. You have to be a risk taker. You have to not be scared to waste money. Realize that you wasted time, but not really that you wasted time because you learned something.
Right.
I think it's the same idea that you have to take to life, is that everything happens for you, nothing happens to you.
Right.
So if you really want it, if that's what you want, if you really want to scale, you have to know that it's gonna look like the stock market. First of all. Second of all, if you want to scale, you're no longer in whatever business you're in. Like, I'm in the martial arts business. No, sir. I'm in the people business, right? I'm in the people business because I got to handle 150. We have to handle 150 employees, and those are people, and you have to get everybody on the same page. You have to get everybody believing in the same message. And then secondly, you have to have systems,
right?
You have to have systems of this is just how we do it. So that, again, everyone's on the same page, because you're on the people business. And if this person over here feels like this person over here is doing it a little different, then you get all this tension and feelings get hurt and pain in the ass.
Right. So I would imagine that having processes and systems almost simplifies your life a little bit. Everybody knows what to do. You know your role, they know their role, and everyone can work in harmony together, correct?
Excuse me. Yes. Sorry. Yes. And it's really important to establish core values.
Right.
Right. What is it that you will lose friends and money over? And you can't deviate off of them. Right. Because that starts to, and when you establish core values, I would say you can't, as the business owner, be the one establishing the core values. You have to meet with your team, your upper level people, and you all have to do this together so that everyone feels buy-in. Like I said earlier, I hated having a boss. You can never be the boss.
Right.
Like, everybody knows you're the boss. You never have to come in and be like, yo, I'm the boss, so do it this way. Like, the second you say that, it's like telling somebody how you're the man. It's like Donald Trumping. Bless you.
Thank you. Yeah.
You missed my Trump joke. Sorry.
Well, I kind of got the reference there. We Canadians.
You just skipped over. You're like, I'm going to leave that alone. I don't know where he's going with it.
Oh, well, we Canadians kind of look at you Americans like, well, we're just going to let this.
Yeah, what the fuck are they doing is what you look at us like. It's all right, David. Don't be scared, homie. People will still hate you.
Absolutely. And it's funny because you talked about non-negotiables, and you and I know Jeff Lopes, and he always talks about non-negotiables. You have to have those things in your business that are non-negotiables. And how did you come up with yours? You sat down with your top leaders and then you came up with it, but what was that process like?
We were struggling, right? Like we were struggling a little bit at just on roles and all of this stuff. So we met with somebody, we hired, we hired somebody, we sat down with them, and this is what he did. And they became gold, like absolute gold, so that's, we needed help.
Right. One of the recent books I read by Cameron Harold, previous COO of 1800 Gun Junk. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that company, but basically he wrote a book called Vivid Vision. And it basically just said exactly what you said. He said, if you're running a big enterprise, you can't build it by yourself. But more importantly, you want the people who are building it with you to know what they're building, and creating that vivid vision where you have each section of your business, what the press is saying about you, what your customers are saying about you, what your suppliers are saying about you. Every section of your business, you need to have like 3-4 goals for the next 2 years, and everyone share and contribute towards that goal, so you all know what you're building towards.
And I have to say, there's another big one here, man. And I think people sometimes mess this up. It's Leaders Eat Last. There's a book,
Simon Sinek. Yeah.
You got to pay. You have to pay. If you say you have core values, you have to pay. You eat last, and that's the risk you take as the entrepreneur. Now, look, you'll eat the fattest, maybe. Right. You'll eat the fattest, but you have to make sure that, I don't know, I didn't get paid for a year. Right. I did not take any money from the company for a year, because there's all these other people that we had to make sure got paid. Right. And then for our company, for Easton, at the end of the, so I was able to get paid last week, for the first time, but that was after we bonused everybody for all of the work that they did throughout the pandemic, so, and look, we made sure that nobody, I think 2 people, our CEO and our 3 people, our 2 vice presidents, they made less by $3,000 before the bonus in 2020. No, they made more. Everybody made more, right? Everybody made more. So it was super important. Now look, that's with government assistance as well, plus what we paid them, and then when we added their bonus in, and we didn't have to do that, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but if you, at all, but this is such a core value to us. Like, leaders eat last. Like you have to pay people. And if you don't pay people, and you as an entrepreneur are trying to get rich, and it's going to fall apart.
That's a very, very important point to make, Eliot, because a lot of people, especially younger, new entrepreneurs, they get into entrepreneurship for the glamour, for the fame, for the fortune, or for the bragging rights, if you will. Why do you think that approach to entrepreneurship will end in disaster or in failure, based on your experience so far?
Money gets in the way of everything. So you take money out of the equation and you give it to other people. And then just watch what will happen. And not because money matters, right? And if you as an entrepreneur, when you start your business, you better have a little. When you hire some people, you better have a little, right? Like, you better have some runway money for yourself. The way I saw our business was, for me, I got to a point where I was comfortable. And then my goal, there was two people that we had hot, at the time, they were both just our GMs. Now one's the CEO and one's a VP. I was like, okay, I need to get them to my level of comfort, financial comfort, and when I get them to my level, then I can move up. Right. And so this is always the goal is, for me, there's more people added to it. But now it's just that, right? Because they can't see, as an entrepreneur, and if you want to scale and all of that, and you want to have a team, they can't see you just eating fat, man. Like, everybody hates that, right? It doesn't matter how fat they're eating. If they're like, well, and I guess it does. If they're good, then they don't care so much. But you know what I mean? Like, the people at the bottom, if they see you just like raking it all in, and you're, even if it's not them, your customers see it, and your employees, the people that they see out every day in the businesses, are like barely scraping by, you can't help but notice, you know, unless you get big like Walmart and things like that. Like
when you're removed away from
when you're
the
removed,
equation.
yeah, you know, like we all hate Walmart, but we all go because it's like you know, it's easy, it's convenient. You need, I don't know, whatever you need that day,
Right.
So, but the owners are removed.
Fantastic insight. I really appreciate that. Let's make a little bit of a pivot here. Prior to you running your own business, you were a fighter in the UFC. So what started your interest in going down that career path?
The Karate Kid in 1986.
No way.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I kicked the lamp, like, you know, kicked the lamp, started karate. Karate for me was the only place that I fit in my life. You know, I think we'll probably get into that story, my life story, a little later here. And so martial arts is where I lived. You know, I didn't really have any friends, and I was really an outcast for most of my childhood. Great parents, great nuclear family, but outcast for sure. My dad, African American, my mom, the daughter of Holocaust survivors. So I was with my grandparents and my dad all the time, right? And they're a life of struggle, you know, and my mom white. So, so the fear that something was always coming and not fitting in and all of that was a very big story in my life. Martial arts always worked out for me. I started karate, moved into jiu-jitsu, and I had always said that I was going to fight. And so we fought.
What was that experience like, being on the grand stage, UFC? I mean, I'm a fan of the UFC spectacle, and lots of my friends are. So what was that like?
What was it like? That's a great question. I mean, it's outside of war, you know, it's the most intense thing ever. You know, you can't explain it to somebody. Yeah, like it's stupid that you do it. It's fucking dumb. Like I recommend it to nobody. It's an awful experience, but amazing at the same time. Like you have to hate it so much that you love it.
It's a paradox.
Like, yeah, you know, and I don't know why, because it's brutal. You know, you're dieting all the time. You're sitting there now look, once you become Conor McGregor, everyone's like, oh, but look at Conor. You know, look, there's 10 people, 15 people that have just crushed it. But for the rest of us, you're sitting there with your phone going, okay, they're going to call, you know, they're going to call and tell me I have a fight. And then they call and they tell you have a fight. And then you go through training camp. And training camp, you're losing weight, you're getting beat up. It's this physical, mental, emotional roller coaster, up, down, here, everywhere. And then you actually have to do the fight, right? Which is, you would think, be the hardest part, but actually the easiest part, because you're just on autopilot at that point. And then, you know, your fight's over, and I don't care if you win, lose, draw, whatever it is, the first feeling that you have when that last bell rings is relief. You're relieved that it's over, you know, and then you get into sadness or happiness. And then you have a couple of weeks, you know, of like, okay, I know they're not going to call now. And then as soon as like a week or two passes, you're like, okay, when the fuck are they going to call again?
Wow.
And then
pretty intense.
And then you got to understand too, your money, right? Like you make all of your money. If you, let's say you fought 4 times a year, which is a lot, right? You make all of your money in 1 hour's worth of work. Now look, it's a year's worth of work, but only the hour matters. Only the 4 15-minute blocks matter. Right? You know, like how many bad 15 minutes did you have this week?
Oh, tons.
Just this week, right? Yeah, you're like, scrolling on Instagram way too long, you know, wasted that time.
It is a very, very unique, interesting concept to think about, where all of that hard work is condensed into that 50 minutes. But let's kind of backtrack a little bit here, Elliot.
Mhm.
I know in your book, and just as part of your story, you have shared that you went into it for the wrong reasons almost.
Yeah.
Can you just share a little bit more about some of the things going on in the background as you were a fighter?
Yeah. So like I said, my background is why I say I went into for the wrong reasons. I grew up an outcast. When we moved to the house that I lived in, my house was spray painted with swastikas and Nigers. They spelled the word wrong. Go home, get out of here. So my house was vandalized my whole childhood. Um, because of who we were. And so I had no friends, like two. Neither one of them went to my school. And like all of those times when you think of a child as a kid, like when you were in school, what were the best times? The best times were like recess, right? Gym class, walking when you got a little older, walking through the halls with your homies, right? Lunchtime, because you got to just socialize. Well, those were the worst times for me, right? Because I was alone. I ate lunch by myself. I walked through the halls by myself for the most part. Like there's nobody. And then I started this jujitsu. I learned a little jujitsu before I moved to Colorado. And I told some of the wrestlers this. And that we got on the mat. And I beat them. And these guys were state champion wrestlers. And I was a late bloomer. And I lost a little bit of baby fat, and I was looking a little better, and then I beat these guys that were popular, and people heard a little bit, and they're like, oh, Eliot, a little bit, and like a whole host of things, and maybe this is not true at all. It's just the narrative I kind of tell in my head, because they're all so intertwined, like the losing weight, it's just baby fat losing weight, but losing weight, excuse me. And, I got a couple more friends. So beating somebody up, right? I equated it with popularity.
Interesting.
And then I said I was going to fight in the UFC, which was like this weird thing. And it's not like any other sport where anybody said they were going to do it. Right? Like, you could see by the time I was 17, I wasn't going to play in the fucking NBA, right? Like I could barely start for my high school basketball team,
right?
So the NBA was out. So, but this other thing was in, and then I just did it, and then I made it. But making it there was all hiding this insecurity that I had, this deep, dark anxiety that had kind of reared its head a couple of times through my life, with some acute instances of anxiety, and then when you are in the UFC and you're fighting so that somebody will like you, right, and accept you as a human being, you can't lose. Because if you lose, now people aren't going to like you. Right. You're going to have no friends. And I mean, if we want to have a therapy session, I'll tie it all the way back. Like if I have no friends, who's going to take care of me if the Nazis come again, right? Like who's going to help me? Because that was the narrative that I was told my whole life growing up as a child. The Nazis are coming again. Like you need to be ready. So, I mean, that's an intense life for a 10-year-old, a 7-year-old, right? And then it kind of comes true with the spray painting of the house and the note, right? Like, and then I actually get some friends, but I get some friends for this reason over here. So this reason becomes everything. And then I make it to the big time. Well, the big time crashes, right? Well, the big time crashed. I wasn't the champion. And the way I fought was this fear-based fighting of I can't lose rather than go win. Because if I lost, then everyone would hate me. Because I, Eliot, wasn't good enough. Like just the human that I am. Because my first 17, 18 years showed me that what made me good enough was this physical thing that Eliot could do.
Right. It's a very fascinating story, Eliot. Thank you for sharing that. And it's not dissimilar to a lot of people, regardless of what career we're in. Even sometimes as a business owner, I tie my identity to the success of my business. And if I don't hit my goals as a business owner, then I am a failure because my business is almost an extension of me. So how do you actually approach, disassociating yourself from what you do. Like you're yourself, and what you do is what you do. They should not
Right.
be tied together. How do you actually walk through that process? Is that something you've learned to do? Or
Yeah, it for sure is. Yeah. Who am I? What does it mean? Well, you know, and it's not one definition, but let's put a couple, you know, because there are definitely different people of Eliot that need to show up, you know. First and foremost, I'm a father. David, can you tell me when I won't be my children's father?
You always will be.
Even when I die, right?
Correct.
Even when they die, right? Okay. I am a teacher. My students, right? When will I not be a teacher?
Always will be.
How about a student? When will I not be a student?
You're always learning.
So I have these definitions. I'm a father, I'm a student, I'm a teacher. Excuse me, I'm a fighter. You know, I don't do it in the physical sense so much anymore, but yes, I am. I'm a leader, I'm a survivor. And all of these things together, they make me enough, right? They make me enough. But all of those things separately can never not be true.
Right.
They don't have to be screaming right now. Like when I'm a teacher, I'm like, you know, the father role isn't really showing up, you know? And when I'm a fighter, if, you know, which is, you know, like when I walk out to the cage with my fighter, right? The warrior Eliot has to be there a little bit. The father Eliot isn't really there because my kids are at home and safe, and, you know, so, you know, some come and some go, and there's, you know, but it's always true.
Right.
Now, successful businessmen, you know, that can come and go.
Right.
So I put no attachment on that. That's not who I am. You know, so I have these really clear definitions of myself. I say them every single day. I wake up, I meditate, I have gratitude, and then I say what are called my I ams, you know? And then I thank the fucking universe, and I get up and I get after it.
You know, that's amazing, because once we start understanding the full picture of who we are, all of a sudden, if one area of our life fails or doesn't measure up to whatever we define as success, it's just one section of our lives. It doesn't define the whole thing, right? That's what you say?
That's what I'm saying, you know, but I can't fail at those, like failure. Like, what do you mean? Like, I mean, I might be unskillful.
Right.
Right. I might be very unskillful one day, but that's okay. I've been unskillful so many days. And even so, this is, and then, you know, words matter. Until we're truly enlightened, words matter. So I try not to use the words like best and worst. Okay. And I try to use words like skillful and unskillful, because even when I am quote unquote the best, I still need to be more skillful. And if I am the worst, I just need to be more skillful. Right. And now we use the polars, best and worst, you know?
Right.
So every day, what do? You wake up and you be more skillful.
Right. So it's a continuum. You're never at the end or at the bottom. You're just walking towards being better and better.
I mean, have I been a shithead dad before? You better believe it. I'm a human being. I'm not perfect. You know, what are you gonna do? Ah, shit. You apologize, right? If, you know, and then you just walk. You just walk. You just put one foot in front of the other. So, you know, I've been talking about a lot. I have two quotes on my wall behind me. This one is Teddy Roosevelt's "Man in the Arena,"
right?
You know, and this one is Martin Luther King's "Darkness can't drive out." You know, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that, and hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. So it's real simple, right? It's super simple for me. Love myself. Realize that I'm enough. Realize that I wasn't born bad. You know, realize I wasn't born in sin. Like, this concept is bullshit to me. You know, we're born good. The world happens. Shit happens, and then after that, you walk in the arena. You just keep putting one foot in front of the other. Okay, little up. That was unskillful. Yo, my bad, dude. I'm gonna really try hard not to do that again. You know, I hope that the person doesn't take it personally, but I can't take it personally if they do take it personally. And then, you know, maybe, you know, keep walking.
You know, that's just a fascinating insight, Eliot. And what I'm hearing a lot from you is vulnerability. So you're vulnerable enough to almost not take yourself too seriously. And in that detachment from this serious persona, you're able to find growth. You're able to find the humility to go out and learn what you need to learn, to apologize, and to try and find ways to make up and build relationships. And I think that ties into that point that you've been, I guess, is sort of a hallmark of your branding, which is healthy masculinity.
Yeah.
Can you just share a little bit more insight on what that means to you from the context of vulnerability, from the context of not tying your personal identity to your success, or in this case, your failure, or whatever that's going on around you? Can you just share some more insights on that?
Yeah. So, we have this idea of toxic masculinity right now, right? Let's start there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe masculinity is toxic. I don't believe it's toxic whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that the behavior that people describe when they're saying toxic masculinity is toxic, but it's not masculinity. I did this thing the other day. I don't know. I put it out and it's getting some people talking about it and stuff. I walked onto my kids' lacrosse field, and there was a dude on the field with this hat. It said lions, not sheep. And his shirt said lion, not sheep. And that is like, he just the epitome of toxic, right? That is the toxic masculinity, that motherfucker, and the dude that started the company,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because lions don't scream, they're fucking lions. It's super simple. I'll never say that I'm a lion. Never in my life will I say that I'm a lion. But I will work very, very hard every day to be a lion. Now, let's define what it means, right? Let's define what it means. All of these people that I defined myself as earlier have to show up sometimes. The vulnerable side, the hard side, right? The warrior side, the leader side, all of them. The loving side, the vulnerable, they're all pieces of what I believe a man needs to be. Men don't scream how great they are, right? We don't need to tell anybody. And what I likened it to with the lions, not sheep thing, for me, I wanted to just go ask the dude. I wanted to walk up like the warrior started showing up, right? My ego, I wanted to walk over to him and be like, yo, you want to find out? Let's just see. I'm not going to say that I am a lion, but I know you're not. Right? I know you're not a lion. You know how I know you're not a lion? Because you're fucking wearing that shirt.
Right.
Right? Do you think Tom Brady wears his Super Bowl championship shirt out?
No, it does not.
No, he's got 7 of them too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where do you think they are?
Somewhere in the cabinet.
Somewhere in a cabinet for his grandkids.
Right.
Right? To put in a cabinet. Because why? Everybody knows Tom Brady's the fucking best.
Yeah. Yeah.
He doesn't have to tell anybody.
Totally. So you're saying that sometimes what we see as toxic behavior is just ego for some people talking, and it's people just trying to make up for something.
Look, they don't have their insecurities in check. They don't know. They know exactly where they're weak, because we all have them. We all have weaknesses. They know exactly where they're weak. And rather than work on them or let the world see them, they're so goddamn afraid of them. They're so afraid of their feelings and their emotions, because if their feelings and their emotions come up, they don't know how to actually handle them. They don't know how to sit there and be sad and still walk into the goddamn arena. They don't know how to sit there and be scared and still walk into the arena, right? They try to take over the arena. They try to run from the arena. And look, this is the biggest. This is not the big. I mean, it might be. It might be, in my opinion, because currently most of our leaders are male, and they act like fucking douchebags. Every single one of them. I know I joked about Trump earlier, but we can do the same thing with the other side.
Correct.
Right? We can do the same thing with people, with everybody from the other side too. Leave Obama alone. I love Obama.
I love him too. I'm a huge fan. So
it's because I'm Obama black, baby. My dad's black, my mom's white, so I identify with Obama.
Absolutely. Those are very, very important points you bring. And one of my passions personally, and I know we discussed this as we were preparing for this podcast, is emotional mastery.
Yeah.
Being that gap between the toxic part to really showing up and recognizing your flaws, but not being defined by them. But it's just what it is, right? And we're on this path to improve and grow, and not attaching your worth to your flaws. But from your perspective, what's the place of mastery of your emotions and really overcoming that toxic masculinity, if you will?
You have to know what you're feeling.
Hmm.
You have to realize a feeling. Good, bad is not a feeling. I'm good. Not a feeling, homie. Sad, happy, frustrated, mad, angry, insecure, impatient. Feelings.
Right.
Now, then, and I know, and this is where all those toxic men go, man, fuck your feelings. I agree almost. But you have to realize them. You might have to say, fuck your feelings today. Right? You most, when my feelings are on the negative in that day, when my eyes open and I get up and whatever, yes, I have to say, fuck my feelings, but I cannot ignore them. I cannot ignore them. I have to realize them. And then at some point during that day, I have to sit there and I have to address the feeling. Why am I sad? And you're only sad, well, you only have a feeling, a negative one in most part, because you have a need that's not getting met, a need as a human being. So what do you need? So that's my next question when you talk about emotional mastery. What do you need as a man? And most men, I don't need nothing. Bullshit. Look, I know you when you look at me, when you Google me, the first picture is going to be of me fighting, right? Like chiseled like a goddamn gladiator. I don't look like that anymore, but I'm still a big dude, right? I'm a softie, bro. Can you realize that? Like, can you realize that, you know what I need? I need, when I see my students, I like to give them a hug. You know, it's been a rough year. I haven't been allowed to hug a lot of people. Right. And that's okay, right? We all know why.
Yes.
So it's cool. Right.
Yes.
But, I want to give people a hug. I want to tell people that I love them. Like I need this. So like, I like to talk to you. I don't like to text you. I want to actually communicate, and it is what it is, man. So do you know that that's a need of yours?
Fascinating. So when we talk about emotional mastery, and you've kind of talked about the first pillar of it, which is the awareness piece. So I always think of emotional intelligence or mastery as emotional awareness, emotional control, and some empathy. So we've talked about awareness, which is understanding what's going on, breaking down the emotions, not good or bad. It's talking specific, frustrated, disappointed, mad, whatever it is, being specific. How do you train yourself, or how do you walk through the process of recognizing your emotions? If you're someone who you've detached yourself from feeling, you're this toxic, or talking about toxic version of masculinity, you don't want to associate with your emotions because you consider that to be a weak thing to do. How do you actually approach being aware of them?
God, I don't know, man. I had a breakdown, like in 2016, I had a breakdown because I was running from it. My career had failed, my UFC career, right? I wasn't the toughest and the best and all of these things. And I call it, at the time, I called it my devil. He came to scream at me, this anxiety, this acute, intense anxiety, 9 months long, no sleep, freaking out every day. I've talked about it tons of times in my book and on the TED Talk and all over. It was forced upon me, David. It was forced upon me. And then I realized that, again, walk into the arena of how I feel. Like, in is the way out. In is the way out. You cannot get away from them. They are going to show up in your life. And I don't know how, right? Maybe it's because you'll be addicted to drugs. Maybe it's because you'll drink too much. Maybe you'll gamble too much. Maybe your relationship with your wife and your kids will be not skillful. I don't know how it will show up. And look, all of these things still show up in my, I'm not addicted to drugs, and I don't drink too much, but it's not like things don't show up in my life. Like, it doesn't, there's no going away. And I talked about the devil that I called him of my anxiety. He's my homie now, right? He's my homie now, because he's like, yo, Eliot, you're ignoring something, right? What are you ignoring, Eliot? You're feeling a certain way because you're ignoring something. You have a need that's not getting met. So take a pause, step back. I got lucky, man. There's nobody in this world that's luckier than me.
That's amazing. That's amazing, because you're saying that if you have some of these, I guess, symptoms, if you will, it's a sign that something is wrong inside, and you have to tap into inside you to figure out what's wrong. And trying to tap into yourself is really understanding what's the emotions I'm feeling right now. Why am I feeling them? Almost questioning yourself, if you will. And that's the path to get out of, the challenge that you're facing.
Yeah, and you never get out of it though. It's a journey, man.
True.
I don't know when that walk ends. Right? I'm not sure when it ends. And I like to liken it to the walk of a fight, right? Because when you walk to the cage and they say your name in the back, it's the last time you can be a bitch, right? Like, it's the last time you can be like, ah, man, I rolled my ankle, I'm out. Other than that, right? But once you make the walk, that's where all your power lies. And I'm not saying that you win or lose the fight, but once you walk to the arena, you get in the cage, you touch gloves, and you go. That's where all of your goddamn power is. All of it. And I'll never walk into the arena of a cage again with my fighters, but me personally, right? I'm never the one getting in the cage to fight again. But that doesn't mean the walk stopped. The journey didn't end. I still have to get in the cage. It's a different one. It looks way different.
Right.
So I think that's what we all need to be doing. There's no made it. I don't know this idea that we made it, this idea that I'm a self-made man, or any of that bullshit is just, it's where all of this toxic behavior starts.
Amazing. One of the things that I found, just based on my own personal experience, being aware, and I struggled with awareness early on when I started my first business. I was yelling at employees. I was transferring my aggression, and it was, people were quitting on me. Business was almost going to die. And then I figured, well, I have to make some changes, and I went into mentorship and coaching, which really helped me overcome them. But really, what I found was helpful for me is anytime I'm feeling something, I try not to judge the feeling. I try not to attach a positive or negative label to the feeling. I just try to ask myself, okay, why am I feeling this right now? And I try to reverse engineer the process. What got me here? And then I'm like, oh, I had a bad money. That's why I'm grumpy. Okay, I don't need to transfer that to my wife. I don't need to transfer that to my friends here. And I think that once we take that 10 seconds pause, instead of reacting, we're trying to really understand ourselves, what's going on. I feel that really helps us make the right decisions. And sometimes it doesn't mean that emotions is gone. It doesn't mean that we're not feeling that same way anymore, but we just have a better way of controlling it to make sure it doesn't get in the way of our long-term goals.
Buddhism talks about this, right? And I'm a big Buddhist on Buddhist philosophy. And this is where the I ams go a little bad for me sometimes, is like, you have to, like in the like love teaches me who I am, father, all those things I talked about. Knowledge teaches me that I'm nothing, right? Wisdom shows me that I'm absolutely nothing in this grand scheme of the universe, right? Like, I'm not even a speck. Like, I'm a speck of a speck of a speck. So I'm nothing. I'm everything and nothing, all in the same. Because to me, I'm everything. Love. So the universe, I'm nothing. So it helps you say, when you go, okay, well, who am I? Sometimes when it lets you like step off of it, right? Like like what you were just talking about, your emotion, you step off of your emotion, you become the observer,
right?
You become the observer. Okay. And then once it's not you can, another book that I love is The 4 Agreements. Agreement number 1 is be impeccable with your word. Agreement number 2 is don't take things personally. And so once you step off of it, you cannot take it personally, because it's just, all right, it's this Eliot right here that's acting like this. All right, well, we know how to move out of that. And The problem is we start taking ourselves too personally. And everyone thinks when you say don't take it personally, talking about what other people do to you. No, it's only you, right? It's only you. And then once you handle you don't got to take anything personally.
Right.
It's
an amazing skill when you can step away from yourself in a way, and you can be objective and be like, am I being an ass right now? Is my anger justified? Is this my ego talking? And you're able to really talk the real talk to yourself and move forward. I think that's a massive skill. Now, did you have another point you wanted to add to that, or?
No, go. Yeah.
Okay. So I was going to say the second pillar of emotional mastery is control, right? So you're aware of what's going on. That's half the battle. You know what's going on. It doesn't mean that that will magically go away. You know, you're feeling sad or frustrated or angry or whatever it is about the situation. But then the control piece is all about how do I modify my behavior to make sure that it's in alignment with my long-term goals? How do I make sure I'm not transferring this rage to my family because, whatever, that's work and I'm going to leave it at work. What's your thought on that control piece? You're aware of the emotion. How do you control your actions to be consistent with your goals?
I'm going to use one of your Canadian brethren and Jordan Peterson here. And I don't know how big of a fan of him I am. Like, I love his 12 rules of life. I love some of the stuff I read, and I hate some of the stuff I read, and that's okay. I think we're in this world a little bit where it's like, oh my God, they said one thing that I fucking despise and we're done.
Yeah.
I disagree with that line of thinking.
It's not white and black, really. It's always a gray scale. Yeah.
So one of the things that, he said, and I'm going to paraphrase it and butcher it a little bit, is that a non-violent man is not a peaceful man. A peaceful man is a man that's capable of great violence and chooses not to do it.
Chooses.
Right? It's got to be a choice. Like, if you I'm a fighter, so that's why it led yeah, sure, I could go take all my neighbors' shit right now. None of them could come take my shit. Right? So, okay. So are they choosing not to take my shit? No, they're not choosing not to take my shit. They know what will happen if they come try to take my shit. It's me that's choosing. And we're only talking about this one perspective. So please don't get crazy, people. Right? But it's the choice of nonviolence that makes you peaceful. So if you don't have anger issues, then controlling your anger is nothing.
Right.
There's nothing to control.
Sure.
Right? There's nothing to control. But that all comes back to one word, and that comes back to this word called discipline. Because discipline is not a feeling. Discipline is a behavior. Discipline is a choice. Right? Motivation, feeling. I'm motivated to do it today. Well, good for you. Who doesn't fucking do it when they're motivated? Everyone does it. Right? You're motivated. I mean, you give everybody motivation every day, world's a different place.
Sure.
The problem is, what do you do with the 99% of the time that you wake up and don't feel motivated?
Sure. That's where the magic happens, really, if you can get over those times. I really like the word you've mentioned there, choice. One of Stephen Covey's books, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, super popular book, he talked about the idea of proactivity. And he was saying that in between stimulus, so external stimulus, the world, whatever, and our action, we always have a choice, whether or not we identify the fact that we have a choice. And I think a lot of people, they condition themselves to say the world is affecting their behavior, the economy, my spouse, my friends, my environment are making me do X, Y, Z. And the idea is that no one is really making you do X, Y, Z. You choose to do X, Y, Z. And I think that choice factor, or realizing we have a choice, is so crucial.
Oh, we're getting to a very big topic of mine here. Okay. In a macro sense, I don't believe we have choice.
Okay, let's go ahead.
I don't believe we do. I believe we are a makeup of our life experience combined with our chemical makeup. So this is why I say, this is one of the reasons why I say I'm the luckiest person alive. My chemical makeup seems to be good, and I had amazing experiences. Just hard enough. Right? My anxiety, just hard enough. My suffering, just enough. What would I have done if everything was 20% more? You can't say you would have done the same, because your whole life experience would be the same. I've been lucky enough to realize, right? I've been lucky enough to realize and be shown a way that I got to see that everything happens for me, not to me.
For you, not to
for
you.
Me, not to me.
What's the difference between those two things there?
Well, when things happen to you, you become a victim.
Right.
You become a victim. So now look, I try really hard not to fault people who are being victims. I try to just speak about it and try to change the perspective. And hopefully I'm that lucky spark for them. Right? Hopefully I'm not in a financial sense, or hopefully just that they hear that, oh shit, wait a minute. I'm not a victim. And hopefully that the experience of hearing people like us talking about what we're talking about changes their life experience, right? And moves it, right? Boom, moves it in a different direction. You know, hopefully, I don't know, some dumb Instagram video they come across, scrolling when they shouldn't be scrolling, making the bad choice of the death scroll, right? Go, oh shit. And then it changes their life. It changes their experience. So in a macro sense, I don't believe in choice. In a micro sense, yeah, choices, you have a choice.
You know, at the end of the day, though, Eliot, when I think about choice and control are two different things, because you can't control what happens to your life. We can't control that. But the choice could be as minute as our perspective. When something, a venture fails, for example, you can say, oh, this is the end of me, or, well, this is an opportunity to learn how not to start a business, right? So we do have that choice, and at the end of the day, how we see our situation. It doesn't mean we have control over it. We probably won't ever, but that choice is definitely key in how we see life.
Look, you can't tell anybody they don't have choice, right? We're talking about a crazy thing here. You know, we're talking like from the macro sense. But yeah, no, man, like the race problem in America, for example. Okay. I believe we have a major race problem. You know, 100% we have a race problem in America. I don't know what it's like in Canada so much. Here we have one. Now, I need to do everything I can to help that problem, right? And fix it, and not ever equalize out outcomes, but only equalize out opportunity. But when I'm talking to a young Black man who's going down the wrong road, I can't tell him that he's fucked because of racism. I have to tell him, yeah, you're right. You are correct. You're going to have to work 10 times harder. Yes, it is not fair that when you get pulled over by the police, that your hands, you better put your fucking phone on, first of all. And second of all, put your hands at 10 and 2, right? And I understand that most likely that cop is not a bad cop. You know, I'm not saying that they're all bad. No way, you know, but you got to do what you got to do to fucking protect yourself. Is it fair? No, but life's not fair, right? So put on your fucking big boy pants, pull them up. You can make excuses or you can make different choices, right? So it's a twofold thing, you know, and I've talked so much about duality, right? Like, you know, like they both exist, and we like to pretend like only one thing exists.
It's not
all cops are bad. No, all cops aren't bad. Some cops are bad. Yes, some cops are bad, you know?
It's the nuances of things that you have to start looking at. It's not black and white.
It's never black and white.
Fantastic chat, Eliot. We are almost at the end of our chat here. 51 minutes just whizzed by, but I wanted you to talk as we get to the end of our chat here. I want you to talk about your podcast and your book, The Gospel of Fire. What's the message you're trying to pass along there? What's the inspiration there?
So I believe that the fire is the gospel. It's not religious at all, right? You got to walk into the fire, walk into the arena, you know, and that's where you will be forged in that fire. Okay. The book is about my journey in the fire. You know, the podcast is about other people's journeys through the fire. So to see how they became amazing, you know, I believe everybody has a power. You know, everyone has a thing that makes them amazing in the world. It doesn't make them, I don't know if it will make you money or fame or, I mean, it might, you know, like LeBron James's did, right? But it doesn't matter. You know, LeBron James has problems too.
We all do.
You know, so his money doesn't solve them.
Correct.
So that's what I believe, you know, and that's what the gospel of fire is.
Okay.
You know, I call it the 3 Ps: find your passion, find your power, and then you can find your purpose.
Right. I like that. Find your passion, and then you can find the power and purpose.
Purpose, yeah, the 3 Ps. People think that passion is where it ends. Like, oh, why did I find my passion? Look, I love martial arts, right? I love martial arts. Martial arts is where I found my power, you know? And then when I found my power, I was able to discover my purpose. And then once you discover your purpose, but you need all 3 of the Ps. Once you discover your purpose, you need to go give it to the world, right? You need to go, hey, come on, let's go. And, you know, look, for me, it's worked out so far.
Amazing, amazing. Last thing before I let you go here, living it with anxiety, that's one
Yeah.
of the huge message of yours. We are in a time where people are anxious about the
Mm,
future, COVID affecting
mm.
business, livelihood. What's your word of wisdom or advice based on your experience, how you've navigated the journey? So, but how do people walk through this anxiety in this
You
time to
look
live?
that goddamn demon devil right in the fucking face and you say, not today, motherfucker. You say, not today. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's it, man. You look it right in the face. You can't run from it. He's faster than you. He's stronger than you. He's bigger than you until you stand to choose there and go, not today. Today, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. What was my plan today? This was my plan. Okay, I do it. Tomorrow, we'll talk.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't got to worry about tomorrow. You know, tomorrow ain't guaranteed. I could walk out that door right now, get hit by a car, and boom, done. You know, so do today. Tell that demon, not today. And then tomorrow when you wake up, you're probably gonna have to do the same goddamn thing. You have to fake it until you make it. And then when you make it, keep fucking faking it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, keep faking it. You can fake it for a day. Everybody can fake it for a day. And then when it's real quiet, you sit down and you talk to him.
Right.
And you ask him or her, why are you here? Tell me why you are here. What am I missing? I must be missing something. I'm feeling this way because I have a need that's not being met. What are my needs? What does Eliot Marshall need as a human being? And then you have to be able to go express those needs in a way that other people can hear them.
Right. Right. Find some help, find support, whatever you need to get through them. I think that second piece is really important. So, you go crazy, you go brash, you stand up to whatever it is going, but you also in the background, in the quiet space, try and have that talk, understand what's missing.
I go to therapy every week. You know, I go to therapy every week so I can figure out my needs. What does Eliot need?
Yeah.
You know?
And I think a lot of people, they stop at that first part. And, when they hear the motivational speaker, it's all about attack, attack, attack. And then that's where it ends, right? But it's never complete if you're only going on the attack all the time.
Well, yeah, because you have no defense, right? You have to have defense. And people, like when I talk about this therapy thing, right? People are like, I'm not in crisis, because people like to go to therapy in crisis. Did you brush your teeth today? Let me see them. Let's see them. Let's see your teeth. They're white.
Yes.
Yeah, there we go, right? White teeth.
Yes.
They're perfect in a row, right? Because you brush your teeth. What, did you brush your teeth yesterday and the day before and the day before?
Yes,
That's what kept them white, right? If your teeth are falling out, right? If one's over here and they're rotted, is brushing your teeth going to do anything?
Not much.
No, man. You brush your teeth so that you don't have to go get root canals and yada, yada. Go to therapy so that you don't have to be in crisis.
Right. It's amazing. Eliot, it's been such a pleasure. We could almost continue to chat for an hour, but I respect and value your time. It's been so much pleasure getting to chat with you. Thanks for coming on the show, sir.
Man, thank you so much for having me. I'm glad that we met through Jeff.